See this thing right here? I don't want it. I don't need it. I don't care. Oh, I don't care. I don't care. Why are you hopping in the car? Let the ring go. The ring is done. The ring is over. I don't want crazy.
I want you to pause everything you're doing right now, because what I'm about to tell you might make you uncomfortable. It might make you angry. But most importantly, it might make you feel less alone. There's a generation of men who've made a choice that nobody wants to talk about. They're walking away from relationships, not because they can't find love, but because they've calculated the cost and decided it's too high. They're choosing solitude over the battlefield that modern dating has become. Most people won't admit this, but we're living through the greatest relationship crisis in human history. And while everyone's busy pointing fingers and assigning blame, millions of men are quietly checking out of the game entirely. They're not bitter, they're not broken, they're just done. And today we're going to explore why. Because behind every man who chooses to stay single, there's a story that society doesn't want to hear. Oh, and before we continue, I've got something special for you. A free ebook, The Female Mind Control Handbook. It reveals the hidden secrets to making any woman crave you. Grab it now, link in the description or pinned comment. 1. The Divorce Devastation, When Love Becomes a Liability. Let me tell you about Marcus. 34 years old, software engineer, good guy by all accounts. He was married for 6 years until his wife decided she needed space to find herself. The divorce took 2 years, cost him $80,000 in legal fees, and left him with weekend custody of his 2 kids. Marcus now lives in a studio apartment, paying $3,200 a month in alimony and child support, while his ex-wife's new boyfriend drives the car Marcus is still making payments on. I loved her, Marcus told me. I would have done anything for her. But somewhere along the way, I stopped being a husband and became a liability. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Marcus isn't alone. In the United States, divorce rates hover around 40 to 50%, and men lose custody of their children in 80% of cases.
Because about 70-75% of divorces are initiated by women. And the simplest explanation for that is that on average, the most unhappy person in the relationship is going to be the woman. Well, why? Well, because on average, she has higher levels of negative emotion. That doesn't necessarily mean that that negative emotion doesn't reflect problems in the relationship.
Yeah.
But she's going to be more sensitive to that. Well, so if you put 2 women together, well, you know, what do you think happens?
The average divorce costs men $100,000 in direct expenses, not counting the lifetime of financial obligations that follow. Carl Jung once wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But for men like Marcus, the question becomes, what happens when the system is designed to strip away everything you've built in the name of love? Men are silently walking away, and no one's asking why. They're doing the math, they're weighing the risks, and increasingly they're deciding that the potential for devastating loss outweighs the promise of companionship.
How do you look at the girl you love and tell yourself it's time to walk away?
Leo, I hope one day I can love the way that you love me.
The fear isn't just about money, it's about the complete dissolution of identity. When a man loses his home, his children, and his financial security simultaneously, he doesn't just lose a relationship, he loses himself. 2. The masculine identity crisis, when being a man becomes wrong. Picture this. You're at a dinner party. The conversation turns to gender roles. A man mentions he likes to feel needed, to be the provider, to open doors for his partner. The room goes quiet. Someone mentions toxic masculinity. The man shrinks back, confused about what he did wrong. This is the daily reality for millions of men who grew up with one set of rules and now find themselves playing a completely different game. Alain de Botton observed that the price we pay for being ourselves is that we can never be sure we are lovable. For modern men, this uncertainty has become a certainty. Traditional masculinity is not just unwelcome, it's actively discouraged. The traits that previous generations of men were taught to cultivate, stoicism, provider mentality, protective instincts, are now labeled as problematic. Men are told to be vulnerable, but not too vulnerable. Strong, but not too strong. Emotional, but not in the wrong way. It's an impossible standard that leaves men feeling like they're failing at being men, while simultaneously being told that being a man is the problem. Consider the modern dating landscape. Men are expected to pursue, but not too aggressively. They should pay for dates, but not in a way that suggests financial dominance. They should be emotionally available, but not needy. They should be confident, but not arrogant. The result? A generation of men who have no idea what women actually want because the messaging is contradictory at best and hostile at worst. I stopped trying to figure out what I was supposed to be, one man told me. I decided it was easier to just be alone than to constantly worry about whether I was being the right kind of man. 3. The expectation explosion, when nothing is ever enough. Women's expectations for male partners have skyrocketed in the past 2 decades, driven by social media, dating apps, and a culture that tells women they should never settle.
All right, open your eyes.
What is this?
Turn around.
Babe, this isn't a Cadillac.
It's a Jeep Wagoneer. It's just as nice as a Cadillac. I bought it for you.
Are you messing with me right now?
No, you said this. You wanted an SUV for the family.
I said I wanted a Cadillac. This is not a Cadillac.
This is very similar. I looked up stuff that's similar to the Cadillac. This is very.
Why would you try to surprise me with something similar when I asked you for a Cadillac? I just wanted a Cadillac. That's what I asked for. And you said we couldn't get it.
The data is startling. 70% of women on dating apps express a preference for men who earn more than $100,000 annually. Only 13% of men actually earn that much. 95% of women prefer men taller than them, but only 14% of men are over 6 feet tall. But here's what's really happening. Women are optimizing for a fantasy, not a partner. Men are watching this unfold and making a rational choice. Why compete in a game where the stakes keep getting higher, but the rewards keep getting smaller? I make $65,000 a year, one man explained. I own my home, I'm in good shape, I'm kind to people, and I've never been in legal trouble. But according to dating apps, I'm basically invisible, so I deleted them. Most people won't admit this, but we've created a sexual marketplace where 80% of women are competing for the top 20% of men, leaving the remaining 80% of men to either fight over scraps or walk away entirely. And increasingly, they're walking away. The tragedy isn't that women have standards, it's that those standards have become so divorced from reality that they're eliminating good men who would make loyal, loving partners. The economic emasculation, when love becomes a luxury. This is the economic reality crushing an entire generation of men. The traditional male role as provider has become not just difficult, but nearly impossible for average earners. The median home price has increased 300% since 1980, while wages have increased only 80%. College costs have risen 1,200% in the same period. Young men are graduating with crushing debt into an economy that demands advanced degrees for entry-level positions. Meanwhile, women are out-earning men in most major cities for the first time in history. They're buying homes, building careers, and creating the lives they want, without waiting for a man to provide it. This should be celebrated. But it's also created an unspoken crisis of purpose for men who were raised to believe their value came from their ability to provide. Epictetus taught that wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. But try explaining that to a generation that's been taught that material success is the prerequisite for love. Men are choosing to stay single not because they're lazy or unmotivated, but because they're realistic about what they can offer in a world that measures male worth by net worth. 5. The trauma of truth, when past pain becomes present wisdom. His name was David, and he believed in fairy tales. He believed that if you loved someone completely, gave them everything, and put their needs before your own, they would do the same for you. He was wrong. David's story is one of emotional devastation, so complete that it rewired his brain's approach to love. After 3 years of marriage, his wife left him for his best friend. But it wasn't just the betrayal. It was the revelation that the person he loved most in the world had been planning her exit for months while he was planning their future. "I gave her everything," David told me, "my trust, my vulnerability, my heart, and she used it all against me." But here's what society doesn't want to acknowledge. Many of these men aren't damaged or broken. They're pattern recognition experts who've learned to identify red flags that others miss. They've seen how quickly love can turn to indifference. They've watched commitment become convenience. They've experienced the unique pain of realizing that the person they trusted most was the person most willing to hurt them. So they choose solitude. Not because they can't love, but because they've learned that love without reciprocity is just self-destruction with extra steps. "I'm not afraid of being alone," one man told me. "I'm afraid of being alone with someone who's supposed to love me." Jung wrote, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." For men who've experienced deep relationship trauma, that understanding often leads to a simple conclusion: some risks aren't worth taking twice. Here's the truth that nobody wants to say out loud. Maybe these men aren't the problem. Maybe they're the solution. Maybe they're the ones who've figured out that self-respect matters more than social approval. Maybe they're the ones who've learned that being alone is better than being with the wrong person for the wrong reasons. Maybe they're not giving up on love. Maybe they're demanding that love be worthy of the risk. What does it say about our culture when millions of men conclude that their own company is preferable to what modern relationships offer? Maybe men aren't afraid of love. Maybe they're tired of fighting for it alone. Maybe they're not choosing to stay single. Maybe they're choosing to stay sane. And maybe, just maybe, that's the most courageous choice of all. If this resonated with you, if you've ever felt that staying single gave you more peace than being in the wrong relationship, I want to hear from you. Like this video, subscribe for more honest conversations about modern masculinity, and comment the word freedom below. Because sometimes the bravest thing you can do is choose yourself.